a video about 2 years ago talking about the obsession in kids media around in the late 90s and early 2000s. I talked about iconic twins like Mary Kay and Ashley, as well as Tia and Tamara. A lot of those movies and TV shows focus on similarities around twins and sometimes the differences between the twin characters. But what about a show that only focuses on the differences between the twins, where the two siblings birthed at the same time are like water and oil? Let's talk about the Cramp twins. This is one of the shows that I watched between Skatoony and Robot Boy, and this show always came on at 2 in the morning. I always mentioned it to my friends as a kid and they had no idea what I was talking about, probably because they were asleep. The Cramp twins was based off a graphic novel of the same name. I thought the cartoon was obscure. The graphic novel barely has any information about it. The first book in the series is called Cramp Twins, with the description on Goodreads of: at Soap City's annual county and western barbecue, Lucian tries to avoid being tormented and humiliated yet again by his evil twin Wayne. The book was published in 1995. It then had 4 subsequent books, the final being called Trip to Twin Sanity. Cramp Twins is about fraternal twins Lucian and Wayne, both voiced by 2 icons. In the show, Lucian is voiced by Kath Soucie, who voiced Phil and Lil in the Rugrats, and Lola Bunny in the new Looney Tunes show, as well as Tom Kenny, aka SpongeBob, and the mayor in Powerpuff Girls, and he's who voices Wayne, this absolute menace of a child. The show is about these two who are total opposites of each other. Wayne is an ill-tempered, rude, aggressive little boy who loves tormenting his brother, and Lucian is this kind, caring kid who wants to make the world a better place. And if you read the back of the books that they are in, the character description for Wayne, his ambitions are put down as to fight and eat, whilst Lucian are to save the world through knitting. So they are very different. In the intro to the show, we see Wayne fighting in the womb. Then they are born and he hits him again. The theme song continues. We see Lucian joyously chasing a butterfly to study, and Wayne eats it to strip his brother of the only joy he was experiencing. But we do get to see Lucian sometimes get his own back over the course of the show, but the theme song really does showcase their dynamic, down to the way they get dropped home. Lucian returns home on a school bus like a normal child, and Wayne gets dropped off by dog catchers. The show started in September of 2001. The series is set in the town of Soap City, and everyone in this town is weird. The show aired on YTV in Canada, Fox Saturday morning block on Fox in America, and in the UK it aired on BBC One when it used to have a CBBC programming block, but in the 2010s it aired at night on Boomerang and Cartoon Network. Now let's start talking about the characters of this unique show. Firstly, starting with one of the 2 twins, Lucian. Lucian is the older of the twins. Lucian is often depicted as the kinder of the 2. He's still known to prank Wayne as a way to get back for the constant torment. Like in the episode Ice Cream, when they convince Wayne, a toothless man is after him after he terrorizes the neighborhood on his bike.
He was in such a hurry to knock over a little girl and take her screwball that he didn't notice an ice.
Or in the episode Walk Like a Man, when Lucian starts gluing hair onto Wayne to make him think that he's going through puberty since Wayne is scared of growing up. But that's not the main part of Lucian's personality. The main part of personality is his love for the environment and nature, to the point that sometimes it's a bit much. Lucian is the king of sticking his nose where it doesn't belong. His heart is usually in the right place, but he does often inconvenience those around him with his nosiness.
You said school was horrible.
No, I didn't. I said you were being horrible. I like school.
Then there's Wayne, who is the younger of the brothers. Due to his behaviour, he lives a very solitary life. Other than Dirty Joe, who owns the junkyard, we never see him fully. He has no friends. There is no one Wayne would consider a friend. The only person who wants to be his friend is Wendy, due to her insane crush on him because she really likes his cruelty. Sometimes Wayne draws faces on things to pretend that he has friends. I mean, it's an upgrade from a middle-aged man, but still an odd choice instead of just being nicer. Wayne is also concernedly gullible, like when Lucian and Tony convinced him to eat dog treats to turn into a wolfman.
To see if you turn into a wolfman. A wolfman! I like that!
And Wayne actually believes them and starts howling at the moon, believing he's a wolfman. Or in the episode Alien Glow, after watching an alien movie, he's convinced there are aliens in Soap City and is determined to prove it. Wayne is not the most observant child to things he deems unimportant, like Tony, who is the Cramp twins' next door neighbour, and it took him until season 2 to figure out Tony does not go to school with them and is homeschooled, and this was a big revelation. Wayne is not completely without redeemable qualities. Most of the time, he is a completely reckless, chaos-seeking menace with no regard for the rules, but he is good at inventing things. He takes junk he finds and turns it into things that he likes. He added some stuff as a bike attachment, or more impressively, he turned his regular bed into a working car in Mari Mania. Wayne is a smart inventor. Too bad about his personality though. There was one time Wayne and Lucian seemingly got along for over half the episode, which is a record. In the episode Worm Funeral, when one of Lucian's worms die, Wayne becomes obsessed with funerals and preparing dead bodies, and he offers to do it, and Lucian is very touched by the whole thing. He does eventually go a bit too far, but he started off doing something nice.
No sweat. It was fun.
No, really, I mean it. You've given him a great send-off.
Dorothy is Wayne and Lucian's mother, and she is obsessed with cleaning and organisation. In the episode Room Rage, she did kick out her entire family for being too dirty. To be fair, they did flood the house with junk, dirt and worms, but still, you cannot leave your family outside with no food or money. Maybe her obsessive behaviour with control of everything that goes on in her house is the reason Lucian and Wayne tend to break the rules so much. Wayne just breaks rules recklessly, but Lucian is really determined to go and get the man in his pursuit for justice for nature. And I do think it starts at home that they have such insane kids. The dad is not getting his own section. He's the least interesting member of his family. He works for Wendy's dad. That's all you really need to know. He's just a standard cartoon dad. Even the grandparents we see in the show are more interesting than him. Lucian and Wayne's grandmother tried to use them as wolf bait because she thought there was a grandma eating wolf trying to kill her, so she tried to sacrifice her grandchildren. I mean, that's insane. Don't do that. But it's more interesting than him. He just really likes cowboys. Moving on to members outside of the Cramp family, Tony is one of Lucian's two friends. He's one of the swamp folk that live in the local swamp, which is next door to the Cramp house, which is insane that Dorothy would choose to live next to a swamp. That house must have been so cheap, dirt cheap, for this germ, dirt-hating, animal-hating woman to voluntarily move next door. Anyway, back to Tony. He is also quite short, which is seen to hinder his day-to-day activity pretty often. Like in the episode Small Wonders, he can no longer buy regular shoes, so he has to get shoes made for dolls. We also learned that in the same episode, he has to wear this flag or else he often ends up injured. Tony's main role in the series is to share all the customs of his people with Lucian, like the delicacy, dumb radish, or the swamp swallows. Normally Lucian is very respectful of the differences in cultures and is keen to know more about swamp folk, but in episodes like Friend Fight, their differences become evident and they have fallings out because Lucian is very scientific and Tony believes in the supernatural.
And steal all my shoes. You should do it too.
So unscientific.
As I mentioned earlier, Tony is short and he often cannot do things because the world is not designed for someone of his height, and he gets left out with things other kids get to do, like in the episode Little Big Man, where he cannot get on the roller coaster due to not reaching the height minimum requirement. But in that very same episode, Tony discovers a model village for people of his height, designed by the fellow little kid's dad. So for the first time in his life, he does find a place that he belongs, because even in his own family, he's still the shortest of them. So it was nice that Tony found people like him. Wendy is my least favourite character. Wendy is like Panini from Child or Mauricio from Wayside, where the majority of her character is just her harassing Wayne in an attempt to show her romantic feelings. And it's presented as funny. It is not, but that is her role a good portion of the time she is on screen. But she's also a menace outside of her obsession with Wayne, so yay for some form of life outside of her love interest. An episode that shows the extent of Wendy's obsession is in the episode Wicked Wendy, where Wendy finds out Wayne is planning on visiting a trampoline park run by clowns, so she gets her father to buy the place and then buys the biggest trampoline possible that is only meant to be used by professionals. Then she tightens the springs so it's extra bouncy, lures Wayne onto it, and he gets injured so she can take care of him. And by take care of him, I mean kidnap. She tried to kidnap this boy and hold him hostage.
Oh, put me down!
Are you sure you don't want to play dolls?
A lot of times when you have a spoiled rich kid, they are often neglected and act out due to a lack of love from their parents. That is not Wendy's story. Her parents, or at least her dad, do love her a lot. As I mentioned before, he will spend insane amounts of money to make his daughter happy. In the episode Wendy Boy, we see Wendy bending over backwards for her dad's approval. She discovers her father does not use any of the gifts that she makes for him since they are too girly, so she decides to get a lesson from Wayne on how to act like a boy so she can be closer to her dad.
Some boys just don't get basic boy stuff.
Going back to her obsession with Wayne, the most insane episode in this series, not just involving Wendy, is the episode Wendy's House, which starts off with Wendy building a treehouse next to the Cramp residence just to peek in Wayne's room and bathroom, and the episode ends with her getting her father to build a mile-long tunnel to the basement so that she can continue to watch Wayne after he moves to get away from her into his family basement. And this episode is presented as a joke. I remember as a kid being creeped out. This was nightmare fuel to me. that someone would do this. I'm concerned for when she becomes an adult and she will most likely continue this behaviour and be unstoppable.
I know exactly what Wayne's wearing under those shorts.
Mari is Lucian's other friend, who he knows from school. She has a very strange family, who I'm half concerned are aliens, trying to blend in.
By choosing to be different, this P was disrespecting us all.
Which would explain the obsession with fitting in and appearing normal in the episode Pirate Pants, because when Lucian does anything out of line, their brains almost explode. This is not a normal reaction. I'm betting on aliens. We see the extent of her family's sanity in the episode No Means Yes, where they basically hypnotize, they guilt Lucian into publicly embarrassing himself. It was insane. Mari does a lot to avoid her family's strange habits. Usually she just hides, but in the episode Mari Mania, where she intentionally causes chaos in Soap City, leading to the city shutting down so that she can avoid taking a new family photo. She's my favourite character. She is iconic, she's innovative and imaginative. What more could you want? The final character I really want to talk about is Mr. Winkle, Wendy's dad, who is the owner of Soap City's factory that most of the town works at. And he is also the richest man in town, often seen throwing his wealth at any issue that arises. It is often hinted at several times throughout the series that he used to be a swamp folk before he amassed his wealth. Like in the episode Ice Cream, he is seen foraging for root vegetables just like his mother. He also knows about a rare swamp bird that no one else seems to know about other than swamp folk that is apparently very tasty. I think he keeps the fact that he used to be a swamp person hidden, since some of the town people have made their dislike of swamp folk and the swamp very known throughout the show, and he doesn't want any association with swamp to affect his business. His wife has made her dislike swamp folk known several times. After dropping several hints throughout the series, they did confirm it in the episode Swamp Fever.
You can take the man out of the swamp, but you can't take the swamp out of the man.
I barely remember the Cramp twins as a show, but the one episode I did remember is the episode he heavily featured in called Eggbound, where Lucian found this strange egg in the swamp and decides to take it home. Turns out it's the egg of an extinct bird that apparently tastes very nice. This is all I remember, is their teeth chattering every time they spoke about the egg, and every time I see someone eat an egg and soldiers, I think of this episode. It really stuck in my brain. Now I want to talk about the fascinating town of Soap City. While yes, Lucian and Wayne are the main character, the city itself really stole the show with how unusual this suburban place is. One of my favourite episodes was Dorothy ruining this man's life over a haircut and left him on the streets in the episode Haircut Horrors. In her defence, he wasn't cleaning something properly, but the end of the episode was 100% her fault. There's also this reoccurring character called Agent X, who first appeared when Dorothy got taken to dirty rehab because she went crazy because she couldn't get rid of this mark on Wayne. But he appears every once in a while. He was out hunting for aliens in one episode, and then the next time we see him, he's handing out biosecurity kit to people that include real laser cutting pens. I don't know what this man's actual job is. He just appears as secret agent of a variety of companies. I generally think a mixture of the Soap City chemicals and the swamp are getting into this town's water supply, which would explain why half the town are multicoloured. In the episode The Guide Games, the twins get a soap day. Not a snow day, a soap day. Apparently it happens regularly that soap just descends from the sky and they just breathe this stuff in. That episode is very informative about Soap City since it features Wayne giving a tour to these visitors for money. So in the episode we also learn there's an active geyser in the park where children play, and when the soap that falls from the sky finally dissolves in liquid, it is so strong that it can permanently stain your nails. We also find out that the soap is so toxic that swamp folk or people from out of town have intense allergic reaction to it. But the people that live in Soap City, so Lucian, his friends and his neighbours, have all become immune to it due to close proximity. However, Wendy and Mr. Winkle are not immune because they do not get near their own toxic product, or it could be the swamp folk blood in him. In the episode Mr. Winkle's Monkey, the kids visit the Hazmat Chem soap factory, and we learn that all the soap made by them have negative side effects.
Well, that's the one that makes you itch.
Yeah, but the green one stings your eyes.
Oh, and the bars are flavoured. Not scented, flavoured. On the topic of the weird products they make, Hazchem, they produce a spicy chicken aftershave. I feel like the Cramp twins should be remembered more fondly. It has a lot of unique characters, a very strange town, and I never hear anyone talk about it. The Cramp twins were such a unique perspective of twins in the early 2000s, where most twin media depicted twins as package deals. Even if they were the opposite of each other, they were still two sides of the same coin. Even in a show like I Didn't Do It, which is in the 2010s, they still package twins as one entity. Even though these two were different genders, different heights, they were as different as could be, but they were still the twins. But Cramp twins did not do that. Cramp twins was almost the opposite of this, as no one would ever get these two confused. It's harder to convince people that these two are twins, let alone siblings. While yes, these two look very different. Even if they were identical twins, these two are so different from each other. Their rooms, their friends, their clothes, even their cereal. The only thing that these two share are parents. In one episode, Twin Studies, where this woman stayed with the Cramp twins to do a study on twins to prove that they are all the same and that they share one mind, Lucian and Wayne was so different that it drove her crazy and she abandoned the study. Whilst I recognise this is a comedic show and not meant to be taken seriously, I appreciate the constant messaging that whilst these two are twins, that they are two separate entities and not always a package deal. In a lot of Mary-Kate and Ashley movies, or in The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, they had the smart one and the sporty one to try and make them seem different, but they still had the same haircut and they were rarely seen apart from one another. Them being twin with a focal point of their lives, which is not a bad thing. You're allowed to hang out with your sibling if you don't choose to, but the Cramp twins offer something different because unless you two are in school or at home, they do not interact with each other. Now that I've watched every episode of Cramp twins, I'm going to miss it. Tell me if you remember the Cramp twins. What were your favourite episodes? That will be all. See you next time. Goodbye. There was also the episode Little Watchers. These uniforms look awfully familiar.